Bezos and Elon Musk, two tech moguls with grand visions of exploring and settling humans in space, have increasingly found themselves feuding over what our future in that final frontier should look like. Their disagreements mainly arise because both are pursuing reusable rockets, next generation spacecraft, and ambitious space settling plans. In May, for instance, Bezos unveiled a moonlander designed by his spaceflight company Blue Origin. In that presentation, he criticized the idea of populating Mars, the overarching goal of SpaceX, Elon Musk's rocket company. That dig was made live on stage, but other times quarrels between Musk and Bezos appear on world stages on social media, a front of all, like Twitter. Most of the sparring seems innocuous. However, some of the billionaires battled with the space companies they founded have worked their way into courts and government agencies. The relationship between Bezos and Musk wasn't always so tense though. Musk and Bezos used to be cordial, but they're vicious now. Here's a short timeline of how they got to this point. Bezos founded Blue Origin in 2000 as Amazon's success surged. Musk meanwhile used the money he earned from eBay's purchase of PayPal to launch SpaceX in 2002. In 2004, the two met for a friendly dinner and talked about rockets. Even then though, there was an adversarial spirit. "I actually did my best to give good advice, which he largely ignored," Musk said of meeting Bezos. For about a decade, as each company experimented with rocket designs on private land in Texas, the two men largely kept criticism one another out of the public eye. That changed in 2013. After NASA asked companies to submit pictures of how they might use Launch Complex 39A in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Apollo and Space Shuttle missions once launched from that historic site, but NASA was no longer using it. SpaceX told NASA it would use the pad exclusively, but then Blue Origin and United Launch Alliance, a rival of SpaceX, filed a joint protest with the government. Musk dubbed the move a phony blocking tactic. SpaceX later said it was open to sharing the site with NASA and other private companies if necessary. By the end of 2013, NASA agreed to lease the launch pad to SpaceX. Another bitter battle came less than a year later, this time over drone ships. Such boats are autonomous, flat-decked, and able to serve as landing pads for huge rocket boosters. The rocket segment can then be reused, saving millions of dollars. Blue Origin filed a patent for the concept in 2010 and it was granted in 2014. Musk wasn't happy since drone ships are key to SpaceX plans to reuse boosters. SpaceX didn't want to pay Bezos money to use a drone ship. SpaceX petitioned to invalidate Blue Origin's patent, saying that the rocket science claimed in the patent was at best an old hat. By 2009, the judge ruled mostly in SpaceX favours and Blue Origin withdrew 13 of 15 claims in the patent. SpaceX had a point. The concept was even featured in 1959 Soviet film Nebo Soviet, or The Sky Beckons. Not long after SpaceX claimed victory, Musk and Bezos began clashing in public. In November 2015, Blue Origin landed its first reusable rocket called the New Shepard, the rarest of beasts, a used rocket, Bezos tweeted with a video. Musk couldn't help but chime in, "Not quite rarest. SpaceX Grasshopper rocket did 6 suborbital flights 3 years ago and is still around," he tweeted in response to Bezos. Musk went even further with his one-up. He added that it takes 100 times more energy to launch something to geostationary orbit, about 22,223 miles up, which is what SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket does, than to suborbital space, about 62 miles up, where Blue Origin's New Shepard goes. In December 2015, SpaceX successfully landed its first orbital class rocket booster on a drone ship. Bezos praised the company in a tweet, but with a side of shade. Referencing Blue Origin's accomplishments with landing New Shepard, Bezos said, "Congrats at SpaceX on landing Falcon suborbital booster stage. Welcome to the club." The two billionaires also occasionally drop snide remarks about one another during press interviews. A few weeks after SpaceX rocket booster landing, for instance, the BBC Rory Solan-Jones asked Musk about Bezos. "Jeff who?" Musk responded. Then during an event in March, Space News' Jeff Faust asked Bezos about his vision to have millions of people living and working in space colonies. Bezos seized the opportunity to rib Musk, without naming him, over his rival's vision of permanently settling Mars. Musk has described the Mars settlement as a backup plan for humanity in case anything tragic befalls the Earth. One thing I find very unmotivating is the find of Plan B arguments, where the Earth gets destroyed, where you want to be somewhere else, that I find very little. It doesn't work for me. Bezos told Foost. Bezos added, "We have sent robotic probes now to every planet in the solar system, and this is the best one. My friends who want to move to Mars, I say, do me a favour, go live on top of Mount Everest for a year first, and see if you like it, because it's a garden paradise compared to Mars." More friction has arisen as both entrepreneurs plan to launch vast numbers of internet providing satellites. Since at least 2015, Musk has spoken about a plan to create a global network of 12,000 such satellites called Starlink. Amazon announced in April 2019 that it's planned to launch Project Kuiper, a similar network of about 3,200 internet providing satellites. Musk confronted Bezos on Twitter with the message, "Jeff Bezos, copycat." In May, Bezos debuted a concept for a private moon lander called Blue Moon. The spacecraft is being designed by Blue Origin in hopes of helping to return NASA astronauts to the moon for the first time in decades. During his presentation before Blue Moon's unveiling, Bezos took a moment to indirectly criticize Musk's Mars settling plans yet again. Bezos described the moon as a more realistic near-term destination. A slide in his presentation showed an image of Mars with a title, "Far, Far Away." The slide's note said, "Round-trip travel on the order of years and no real-time communication." When asked about Bezos' Blue Moon debut, Musk said he welcomed the competition. However, he added, "But putting the word blue on a ball is questionable branding." Hours later, Musk took the joke further. He edited a screenshot of New York Times article about the spacecraft to read balls instead of moon. The tech moguls are now sparring over a lucrative US Air Force contract. SpaceX recently sued the government agency after they awarded Blue Origin a part of a $2.3 billion agreement for rocket development. But as they have done in the past, the men and the companies they founded will likely rise above such disputes and continue their prodigious push to remake spaceflight. SpaceX is currently toiling in South Texas to develop Starship, an enormous and fully reusable Mars rocket system. For now, the company is testing concepts for the vehicle with a still prototype called Starhopper. Meanwhile, Blue Origin is working towards a 2021 debut of New Glenn, partly reusable rocket that will enter the company into a tangible competition with SpaceX and other launch providers. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and watch more of our educational videos.